Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm going to do another video today, another baking video. We're going to do some stromboli breads. I know you guys have enjoyed this one in class, and I thought I would do a quick video for you guys to see it from home, and hopefully you guys will try to make these at home yourselves. So I want to start off by washing my hands as always. So some hot water and soap. Okay. So now I'm all cleaned and scrubbed up. So we're going to be making, like I said, stromboli breads today. I'm going to make two of them. We're going to make a pepperoni and cheese bread, and then we're going to do some ham and cheese bread. And we'll see how it comes out. So I want to start off with some flour. Today I'll be mixing our dough with our stand mixer. I'm going to use a dough hook attachment for our breads today. Again, we have the whisk attachment, we have the paddle attachment, and then we have the dough hook attachment, and this is the best one for bread. So that's what we're going to use today. I'm going to take my bowl. We're going to measure our ingredients. I'm going to do 2 cups of flour. I'm using all-purpose flour today. Nice and even. 1. 2. That's 1 bread. Then I have another bowl for a second loaf. Nice and even. 1. And 2. So that's for our 2 loaves of bread. So that's our start. Put the flour aside for now. And then we're going to measure in 1 teaspoon of sugar, because the yeast that we're going to use as our leavener needs something to feed off of. And the sugar is a good feeder for it. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. For each. And then here I have some active dry yeast. Just like what we use at school. Now you could buy, like I said in school, you could buy the wet cakes of yeast, but I prefer the dry yeast. I think it works so much better. And I'm going to use a tablespoon. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of yeast for each bread. And then for a little bit of extra flavor, you guys all know me with my garlic. There's about a teaspoon of garlic in each, granulated garlic. And that's our dry mix. So once again, we have 2 cups of flour, teaspoon of sugar, teaspoon of salt, and 2 tablespoons of yeast. And then for a little extra flavor, I added a teaspoon of granulated garlic. Now I'm just going to whisk up our dry ingredients. Just a little extra whisk for each. And we're good there. So I'm going to take my mixer bowl. I'm going to reattach it to the machine. Make sure it's on there nice and tight. I'm going to put on our attachment. Turn the machine on. You know what? Might be a little bit too much noise for now. So I'm going to wait. Now, when we do our liquid for a yeast dough, remember we need warm liquid. About 110 degrees to activate our yeast. If our liquid is too cool, it won't activate the yeast and the yeast will remain dormant. And if it's too hot, say if we boil the water and it got in excess of 130, 150 degrees, it would kill the yeast. So I'm just going to use some tap water like we do at school. Wait for it to get a little warmer. We're going to do about a cup of warm water, about 110 degrees. Now I'm going to start my machine on medium speed. We're going to add our water slowly. Let it mix. A little bit at a time. Turn it up. That's what you sometimes at school. I'm going to help it along. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Get all that flour. And remember, like I always say at school, when we're working with a yeast dough, I would rather it be a little too wet rather than too dry. If it's too wet, we could always add some more flour and soften it up. But if it's too dry and we try to add liquid, it just doesn't come out right. There we go. And our dough does look a little bit wet and sticky, which is fine. So I'm going to take it off of our dough hook. We're going to add a tiny bit more flour. Just a little bit. Roll it in our flour until it's not sticky anymore, which is perfect. So a little bit of flour on our board. And I'm going to knead it just a little bit. Fold it and roll it. We have a nice soft dough that's dry. And we're going to transfer our dry ingredients from the other bowl into the mixer bowl. And I'm going to set this on the stove top. I'm going to let it rise for a few minutes. So now this mixture is ready. Attach to our machine. Put it on medium. Wash my hands. The water is already warm. Have my liquid measure. We're going to add our hot water. A little bit at a time. Turn it up a little higher. And then again, we're going to help it along a little bit. Reattach it. We're getting a nice soft dough. Perfect. This one's better than the first. Clean off our dough hook. Very nice. And now once again, I'm going to knead it. Still have a little bit of residue flour on our board. We don't want it to be sticky. Fold it and roll it and knead it. There we go. We're going to put it in our other bowl, let it rise up, and I'm going to wrap it so we lock in that heat. Remember, in order for our yeast to work properly, we need heat and moisture. And when we seal our bowl, thank you, with the heat, it's going to build up moisture. Nice and tight. I'll let that rise up. We'll do a quick rise. I'll let it rise up for a few minutes. And now we're going to put some stuff away so we clean up as we go. We don't need the yeast anymore. We don't need the sugar anymore. We need a little bit of oil. I'm done with our measuring spoons. The flour we still need because we're going to flour our board when we roll out our dough. The garlic we don't need. And the salt we don't need anymore. So, I have my baking sheet. We're going to grease it up just a little bit. Not much. A little bit of oil. Just spread that. Nice and thin. And what the oil is going to do is make sure that our bread doesn't stick to the pan, number one. Number two, it's going to crisp up the bottom of the bread just a little bit, which is how I like it. Washing my hands again. And we're going to let our bread dough rise about 10 or 12 minutes. And that'll give me a little bit of time to clean up our bowls and wash up. And I will be back in a few minutes. See you guys then.